When I was in school, I hated giving presentations. They were just the worst type of assignment, in my opinion. I'd stumble over my words, forget what I wanted to say, and they just always felt like they went really poorly. But then I'd get pretty good grades. And I didn't ever understand how that was happening. How would I feel like I did so poorly, but then I'd get good grades? Well, eventually I learned this is caused by something called cognitive distortions. A cognitive distortion is a type of irrational thought where you see things as a bit more negative than they really are. Now, cognitive distortions are completely normal. Everyone has them. It's just part of being human. But when they're too frequent or too intense, they can contribute to problems like depression and anxiety. So today, I want to tell you about 5 different types of cognitive distortions. The first cognitive distortion is called emotional reasoning. This is when you feel something so intensely that you start to think it must be true. For example, think of someone who has a fear of flying. They know the facts that flying is safer than driving, but when they take that first step onto a plane, the fear takes over and they start to think, oh, I know this plane is going to crash. I know it's going to crash. Of course, the feeling doesn't have any bearing on the facts, but if you feel it strongly enough, it'll start to seem true. The next cognitive distortion is called disqualifying the positive. This is when you look at a situation with both good and bad aspects, but you sort of push that good stuff aside and you just focus on the bad stuff. So imagine you get a performance review at work. It says, great job, great job, great job, needs improvement, great job. You look at that and all you see is needs improvement. You forget about all the positive feedback. Another good example, imagine you go on a first date, everything is going well, you're getting along, you have a lot in common, and then you say something really stupid, you just put your foot in your mouth, and you wish you could unsay it. Well, when you get home that night, that's all you can focus on, that stupid thing that you said, and you sort of forget that you're getting along great and having fun. That's disqualifying the positive, when you only focus on a small negative aspect of some situation. The next cognitive distortion is called mind reading. This is when you make assumptions about other people's thoughts or their intentions or behaviors without really having enough evidence. So imagine you give a friend a call, they don't answer, and you start thinking, oh, I bet they picked up the phone, saw it was me, put it back down. Or I bet they're hanging out with someone else they like more, or maybe they just don't like me. And that's mind reading, when you make assumptions about why someone does something or what they're thinking or feeling without really knowing. The next cognitive distortion is called all or nothing thinking. This is when you see things in extremes, nothing in between. They're either black or they're white, they're good or they're bad. On a more personal level, this might mean I'm beautiful or I'm hideous, I'm brilliant or I'm a moron, I've got a great job or I've got a terrible job. So for example, think of someone who seems to have a pretty good life. They've got a good job, close friends, hobbies they like, they're healthy, but their romantic relationship is sort of on the rocks. Now, most people might look at this life and think like, oh, that's great, they've got a good thing going. But they look at their own life and they think, my life's a mess, I'm such a loser, all because of that one thing. That's all or nothing thinking. When you reduce something to its extremes, just seeing the black or the white without seeing that gray in the middle. The final cognitive distortion I want to talk about today is called catastrophizing. This is when you only consider the worst possible explanations for something rather than the more likely explanations. For example, imagine you're waiting for a family member to get home from work, they're 15 minutes late, and you start thinking, oh, they must have been in a car accident, why else would they be late? When in reality, they're just stuck at work for 15 minutes or stuck in traffic. And that's catastrophizing. You jump to the most drastic explanations without considering what's more likely. Now that I look back at my own experience giving presentations, I can see how cognitive distortions played a role. You know, my presentations, they weren't perfect. I'd stumble over my words and forget a few things, but it wasn't a big deal. In a 20-minute presentation, it might have been 2 or 3 minutes that were a little choppy. Now, the good thing about cognitive distortions is once you learn to spot them, you can start to challenge them. And by doing this, you can change how you think and you can change how you feel. And in the long run, this will improve your mental health.